Today I'm going to talk about how to create healthy boundaries that is essential to any relationship in order to work properly, including twin flame relationships. And the problem with twin flames that they both have unhealthy boundaries, although it's going to be very opposite. And in this video, I'm going to talk about three types of boundaries. The first one is going to be the classic boundaries that most videos are going to talk about, and it's rules that what you allow and what you don't. Then the second type is going to be that how you actually process the information and how you filter what is happening around you. And in the third one, the third type is going to be that how you express yourself. So first of all, we have to mention that the chaser and the runner, both of them have unhealthy boundaries, and it comes from dysfunctional parents. They didn't receive the proper teaching, and it's going to manifest in two opposite ways. The runner is going to have more boundaries and they are going to be more rigid because they are so afraid of getting hurt that they are constantly focusing on when to move away. So they are always kind of on the jump that, okay, these are the things I don't allow. If you push too many of my boundaries, I go away or shut down. Or sometimes for them, it just feels like I become disinterested in the person. And the chaser is going to be the opposite of that, that they have very limited boundaries or they have absolutely no boundaries, which means that it doesn't matter what the runner does. They do feel hurt, but it feels like it gets overwritten, or at least that was my internal experience compared to the runner, because I have been in both. That when you are in the runner, you can forgive. That's like a mental thing, but you don't forget. It's always in you. And when I was the chaser, it was very different. It was like you feel the hurt, but you automatically forgive very, very easily, and you cannot really block yourself compared to the runner. And what you have to understand is that because you are in one of them, you won't understand the other person. The reason I understand both of you is because I have been both of you. So first we are going to talk about the classic boundaries that most videos are going to talk about. And it's going to be that what you allow and what you don't. These are the rules that you create and you reinforce over and over. And it's actually these three types that we are going to talk about. Are coming from these three levels: the reptile level, the mammalian level, and the primate level. And this one is going to be the reptile level, that this is the closest to you, and this is what you enforce the most, that no matter what, this is what is going to happen. This is where you are kind of the most rigid. These are your basics, that you don't allow the other person to hurt you. And it's coming actually from respect as well, that how much you respect yourself is going to be how much the other person is going to respect you, because you are going to reinforce that I am not going to put up with your shit. That's it. Either you follow this or you go away. And of course, it has to be expressed in a healthy way, not my style. So it's going to be on three levels. And it's going to be quite mixed as well, in a sense that you have to have boundaries, and it's good to actually get just like a paper or a notebook and you really sit down and you think about what do you want, what are your expectations, what hurt in the past. Because the problem is that when you don't write it down, it's just like, yeah, I know, it's very different. But as soon as it's on a paper, you have to process it, you have to mentalize it. And when it's again on a paper, you can just keep reading it, and it's going to be deeper within you because it's verbalized. So it's not a feeling, it becomes your conscious, and the rules are coming from the head. These are the patterns that you kind of sense that, okay, these are my rules. Does this person follow it or not? And you have to have like really rigid ones, and you have to have like more flexible ones as well. Because with many people, the problem is that they are too rigid in their boundaries, and no matter what happens, they are inflexible. That's not healthy either. And then some people just have way too flexible boundaries, but they don't have these rigid ones, and that's not good either. So you want kind of a mixture of that. And it's going to go on different levels. So you have to have boundaries. That's the first. Generally with society. And it's important because society has been forming us throughout our lives. That what do you allow in general that society tells you? Like, for example, if you are a female and maybe you are in a more traditional society expects you to be a good mother, have children, and sacrifice yourself for your family. Why? They don't expect it from the guy. Why do they expect it from the female? You have to ask these questions and tell society to fuck off. So you have to really have in the beginning this type of mindset to engage with your anger. And after you engage with your anger and you wrote it, verbalize it on a paper, that's when you are going to feel calmer. And these are the same things as well, that again, in traditional societies, you can get shamed for the clothes you wear. Why? Who cares what do you wear? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there has to be a limit where people can, I would say, have an influence on you, but people have to learn to mind their own fucking business. And what happens between four walls and what you wear, it should be your decision. If you have a child or not, your decision. So if it doesn't affect another person's life, they shouldn't care about it. And the problem is that there is no boundaries in so many societies between people, and it's not healthy. So you have to really recognize what is realistic and what is not, because this actually takes away your individuality and your individual thinking. When you too much in this social thinking, what society expects from me. Like, look, there are certain things and certain responsibilities that we all have to do, but there has to be a limit to this, that how much you allow them to influence you. What is even, do you know what I mean? Like, if it doesn't make an influence on a person, like it's something like a bickering that we can see in, again, like especially in more traditional societies, that people get upset when someone has a better looking car and they feel envious and then they attack the other person. It's the tall poppy syndrome, that they try to drag the other person down. Why is it a problem for you? Who has what? Just because that person has something, it doesn't mean that you have less. It's like, if you want that car or if you want that bigger house, go and get it, work for it. And that's the problem, that many times people see things from the outside. They don't see that maybe that person has worked 18 hours for several days. So you have to really put this in mind, and that is going to be your first step. And then you create boundaries with in your work, like even in the work, what type of work would you even allow to, like, for example, your pay or your roles or your duties, what kind of a behavior you allow. So you have to be really realistic. Like, for example, if you are in a job, like I was working in a place where I went there on time, and for an hour they didn't even tell me what to do, and I'm just like, why I am wasting my time? But as soon as, because that's in Australia 9 till 5, it was 5 o'clock, few minutes before 5 o'clock, they gave me so much shit to do that I was there for 6. And after a while, I said, you know what? Fuck you. Like, that's not normal. This is what my time is, and I don't care. And you have to be really strict with that, because people are going to take advantage of you if you allow it. And the problem is that the more of us allow it, it's going to be the norm. So more businesses are going to push you. And that's what you have to keep in mind, because look, if it happens once or twice, that is normal. But if it's something that is constant, that is not normal. Then it's the same thing with your friends, that you have to create different boundaries. What are the things you allow? What are the things that you are flexible, but you are just like, yeah, I don't really like that. And then when it gets to romantic relationships, that's again a different thing, that you have to do your due and diligence on the partner, because the closer you allow someone, the more careful you have to be. Especially in a relationship, you have to also recognize, be realistic, that when you are very emotional, because a romantic relationship can make you more emotional than a regular Joe you meet on the street, and that just social member, like a member of society. So you have to be more careful when you allow someone very close to you, and you have to have more boundaries. And boundaries can be like, you kind of write down what you accept even when you meet. Like, for example, and you have to be very realistic with yourself, that you write it down. Like, this is what you do, that you cannot, okay, if he or she is a smoker, I won't date that person. If that person behaves like this, I will absolutely don't allow it. If this or that, and you just write down the list that are absolutely a no. And then you put a second thing that, okay, when that person does this or that, yeah, that's like questionable. I'm trying to talk about it, because you can't expect that everyone is going to be perfect, but you have to be very realistic as well, that when you already know that you can't put up with something, don't do that. Like, I dated for, that's why I brought up smoking, that my first fiance was a smoker. I absolutely hated it. Then my husband was a smoker as well. I absolutely fucking hated it, because I was thinking as well, and it's just not good for me. And when there are so many people to pick from, I'm really sorry. Smokers can be with smokers. They got used to it, and then I decided never ever a smoker in my life, and that's it. And the last one with the boundaries is actually with yourself. That what do you allow yourself? And that's actually self-discipline, that you kind of push yourself to be better. And it's not about being perfect. Again, it's like you recognize your negative behaviors or unhealthy behaviors, and then you push yourself to be a healthier version of yourself. And the second big type is going to be how you process. So this is coming from the second level, the mammalian level or the emotional level, when you take everything very, very seriously. So anybody says anything to you, it becomes very, very personal for you. And this is where you learn to process the information, and you actually learn to filter out things. So what I mean by that is that you identify the other person. So if somebody tells you something, it's not that you reject it straight away or accept it straight away. You try to process it. And in a way is that, okay, how would, in this scenario, a relatively healthy person respond, or a relatively healthy person talk to me? And if the person is very unhealthy, you are just like, okay, this person is unhealthy. I won't really take it seriously. That's it. So this is something you can do in order to protect your mental health. And I'm going to give you a few examples what this means. Like, for example, you dress up and you go out, and your best friend or whatever goes to you and says, oh, you look so stupid, or what a silly dress, why did you dress this way? Look, a healthy person, first of all, wouldn't call you negative names. They would maybe say that, I believe this dress is unflattering on you. But to be honest, a healthy person doesn't even care how you look. They care about your internal part, your personality, and they see more parts of you as well. That they see you in a holistic way. That how you behave. If you are a nice friend, that's going to be the number one thing, and not how you look. And another one, for example, in the workplaces that your boss calls in, or one of your colleagues, and they say that your job is shit. It's like, what? So a healthy person, again, wouldn't tell you this because, first of all, it's not pointed out what is wrong. And first of all, they have to be realistic. Can it be even expected from you what they expect? That's number one. Because many times they do that when you are a brand new person in a job, and oh, I showed it to you once, you should know. I'm really sorry. Everyone is individual, and for some people, you have to show it a million times. For some people, 5 or 6 times. But many times, this is what you have to see. Is it even realistic what they expect? And secondly, when they give you a feedback, because this is about feedback, the feedback looks like, they call it a sandwich. That's what we learned at school, that it's like a sandwich style, that they tell you something good, then they tell you something negative, and then they tell you something good about what you have done as well. So this is one thing. And the other thing is that when it's a feedback, they really express it in a way that is constructive criticism. That's what you have to see, that the way they express, and it can be in a relationship, is that the way they talk to you, it's something that you can learn from, and it's not a direct attack or a labeling that this is shit, what is this crap. That is an unhealthy person. You need to ignore that. It's not how a mature and emotionally mature person talks or behaves. And what you can do is you just filter it. And the things I keep telling is something that in the beginning you have to pay a lot of attention, because these are something that is new. And later on, it's going to be more and more automatic because you have practiced it a lot more. And it's like learning to drive a car, that in the beginning you have to pay a lot of attention, and then it becomes very automatic because you have practiced it such a lot. And the last one is going to be the head level, or the primate level, or the social level, that how you express yourself. And this is where the boundary is, that you don't try to pretend to be someone that you are not. And you really show who you are. You don't wear a thick social mask. And this is what actually the twin flame runner does a lot, because this is where they got really connected to, that you have to repress yourself, your individual self, and you have to pretend that you are someone you are not. But they don't see it this way. They see that they are good people. They try to fit in, and they are very social, and they are very empathic, because they do everything for society, they do everything for others. But the problem is that they don't even really know themselves, because they have been pretending to be someone who they are not in their whole life, that they are too afraid of taking that mask off. And this is where the problem is, when they get into a relationship, that they keep pretending, and they are just dissatisfied, and they pretend to be someone who they are not, because in reality they don't really know who they are, because their parents never allowed them to discover who they really are. And this is where I was. So this is where I started. I was this type of person that, but you have to understand that it's not like you are out there and just like, yeah, I'm wearing a social mask and I'm going to pretend to be someone who I am not. The person is not aware of that. It's just, this is the norm, that you try to fit in, and it's like you are always a different person with the type of group you are in. And you don't think it's wrong, because this is what you learned. And again, like when you cannot compare it with other types of behaviors, you don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you only get vanilla ice cream in your whole life, you believe that's the best flavor because that's the only one. But as soon as somebody gives you, oh, there is chocolate, wow, I actually like chocolate more, and then you believe that these are the only two, and then suddenly you have even more. It's just like, okay, now I can actually test all of them and see which one is actually my favorite, and maybe pistachio is going to be your favorite. And this is what you can do in this, and this is what I did actually. This is how I moved down in the nervous system, and I got connected more to my body, and I became the chaser. That it took me, by the way, years. So it was a very, very long time to push away these social requirements. And I just really went against myself in a sense that I really wanted to figure out who I am, and I decided to just show who I am as it is. And if you like it, like it. If not, that's okay. Like, we don't have to all be exactly the same. Like, some people like, again, like ice cream, chocolate ice cream, and some people like vanilla ice cream. Some people like lemon ice cream. It's just like this, and that's how life is actually amazing, that we have this variety of people, and we don't have to pretend that we are all vanilla ice cream. And the most important part here is when it comes to the relationship, that you show from the kind of from the very beginning. I'm not saying don't wear any mask at all, because in the beginning you have to kind of, it's not really a mask, but you don't show everything straight away. So when you talk, it's just like, okay, you see me, but you don't pretend to be someone you are not. That's the most important, because you have to be able to protect yourself as well, especially in the beginning, that you don't tell everything to the other person. So there is like some peeling back, that the more they get to know you, and you also check the other person, can I open up more, can I open up more, can I open up more, because that's not really good either. This is what I actually ended up in, that I became my own opposite, and it's just like, whatever is in my heart, whatever I think, I don't care what you think. It's just like, I really show always who I am at the rawest form, and that wasn't the best idea either. I've been doing that a lot, and when you talk like that, I didn't even pay attention to this. It's very similar. I started to see the similarity when I watched The Big Bang Theory, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm very similar to Sheldon Cooper now, that has autism, that you don't filter anything. It's just like, the truth is the truth. I'm not going to hide anything. So that's not the best strategy either. That's not a healthy strategy either. You have to really see who you are talking to, and sometimes you have to reframe it in different way, not to hurt the other person, but it's again reframing, or maybe holding back a little bit. It doesn't equal with lying or pretending to be someone who you are not. And an example I want to give you is that, for example, so many girls do this, that especially in the beginning, they always wear a makeup and they always look perfect. And it's, look, in the beginning, I would say that sometimes you wear makeup, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you look your best, sometimes you look your worst. And this is what you can do, that you really show all parts of you, so the person gets a holistic view of you. So you know that when the person stays with you, the person is with you, not the idea of you. It's not that perfect picture you try to paint, that you always have to show your best. It's like, look, I show, this is me as well. It's like my videos as well. Some of them are edited, some of them are not so edited. It's like, this is life, and we have to be all realistic, that sometimes you just don't have time to be at your best way. But you know that when you show your worst, and the people who stick with you at your worst, they are going to be the ones who are going to really stick with you. Because many times what you see in friendship, that when everything is fine with the person, they have lots of money, they look really good, they dress really well, and they are, I don't know, like, I'm not saying famous, but like well recognized, for example, in a social way. Oh, they are full of friends. Oh, they cannot even get rid of them. But as soon as they don't have as much money, as soon as they go down on the dip, all of these friends disappear because they were always fake. And the way you can actually get the real ones is that you show all of your parts and you are just like, yeah, look, this is me. Do you like me or not? And if they don't like you, you just accept it. It's this simple. And it's exactly the same in the relationship as well, that if a person doesn't like you when you are at your worst, that person is not emotionally mature and you are not losing someone. It's that person is losing you. I hope this was helpful and see you in my next video.